All right, here we go, BT.
Okay.
Last week, former LSU star running back Darius Geis was arrested for domestic violence. And on Friday, the Washington football team cut the 2018 second-round pick. However, just 2 days later, Washington activated linebacker Reuben Foster off the PUP list. As we know, Foster hasn't played in the NFL since 2018 after multiple domestic violence allegations that led to his release from the 49ers. So inbounds or out of bounds, BT, it is tone deaf of Washington to activate Foster the same weekend they released Geis.
It's out of bounds. It's two separate instances. Listen, they got crushed when they signed Reuben Foster, and they were largely exonerated there. So, they've got to move forward as if they're getting ready for a football season here. And, Reuben Foster could be a pretty good player if his head is on straight and he's actually on the football field. So, yeah, I mean, I would probably position it as incredibly unfortunate in terms of the timing of it here. But, you cannot make decisions just to fully placate people. And I'm not talking about the name. That had to go. That was time to that had to go. But you can't always overthink it and say, all right, well, we just had this situation with the guys. All right, we signed this guy. Oh, man, he's ready to play football. We want to get him on the field here and start getting him indoctrinated. But, we just had this with Geis. It's not going to look good in the court of public. But if you start thinking like that, you'll just drown yourself in overthought. So he's been cleared. He's ready to play. I have no problem with it. The timing is what it is. And, if somebody wants to chime in, which I'm sure many people have and will continue to do so, you've got to block out the noise and get ready for a football season. The answer is out of bounds.
All right, little NBA here. The Pelicans were officially eliminated from the postseason this weekend, and Zion was not pleased about it. Now reports out of New Orleans say that the Pels are considering a coaching change, even though Alvin Gentry has a year left on his contract. The team is reportedly looking at either Ty Lue or Jason Kidd as the possible replacement for the 63-year-old, as both coaches have worked with GM David Griffin in the past. Inbounds or out of bounds, BT, Alvin Gentry is the right coach to lead the young, ascending Pelicans.
It's a tough one. The answer is probably right down the middle. I'm going to say inbounds. Now, big picture, do I believe that Alvin Gentry is a championship elevator? No, and really nothing on his resume suggests that I'm wrong. But I also believe that there's something to be said. Like, Alvin Gentry is an incredibly respected man of incredible character and integrity. And I'm a firm believer, I'm a big proponent of surrounding my young, impressionable players with that during their most formative years. Listen, Phil Jackson didn't have Michael Jordan right away. Michael Jordan had Doug Collins, and Michael Jordan loved Doug Collins. Doug Collins, played the game, was a good player. Protected them, insulated them a bit, got them to a certain level, and then the determination was made, and we got to go a little better. We have to get a little bit better than this. So Alvin Gentry is not, he's not that guy. But I believe one more year would be really good in the long-term health and maturation. Not that Zion needs to mature in terms of, not that he's like sloppy or, that's not even the word I'm looking for. Not that he's irresponsible or juvenile or unprofessional. But I just think that the sage lessons that he will learn being around the man of like Alvin Gentry will benefit him. So I keep him around one more year. Now listen, if they're 7-20 next year, then Alvin Gentry's got to go. But I would start next season with Alvin Gentry. I don't think Jason Kidd's anything special. I mean, every time Jason Kidd's name comes up for the Knicks, you saw it. Like, I don't want that. For other teams, the Bucks. Really, look what happened after he left there. I think Jason Kidd is average at best as an NBA head coach. I don't think he's the answer. I'd stick with Gentry one more year.
All right, let's get to some baseball here, BT.
Yeah.
In yesterday's Astros-A's game, Oakland outfielder Ramon Laureano charged the Houston bench after being hit by a pitch. Replay shows that Laureano was jawing with Astros hitting coach Alex Cintron before going full steam at the bench. Reports say Cintron may have made disparaging comments about Laureano's mother, and A's teammate Matt Olson said Cintron provoked the confrontation. So inbounds or out of bounds, BT? Laureano and Cintron should get stiffer penalties than Joe Kelly, considering they got into a physical altercation during the pandemic.
Inbounds. I mean, that's why Joe Kelly was suspended so many games, because they wanted to send a strong message. If you start doing that, anything that could spark a bench clearing incident, we're going to drop the hammer, and we're going to do it the first instance that arises to dissuade, which it didn't do, but theoretically to dissuade players from doing what happened this past weekend. First of all, any coach that's running his mouth should get knocked around. Unless I don't mean an old coach. Like, if you're a youngish coach and you're chirping at a player, I mean, that player's got every right to charge you in a non-pandemic year. I think that the other thing with Joe Kelly, though, too, is that, for a pitcher, you do a heavier weighted penalty because pitchers can't pitch every day, whereas position players obviously can. But anytime there is any sort of instance where it's outside of the line coloring here that goes against the strong message, the demands for Major League Baseball that this doesn't happen, they're going to be met with swift and legitimate punishment, and they should. That was bad. I mean, we've seen brawls that are far worse. And again, but again, my answer is obviously inbounds here, but there's two things that I'm weighing here. Like, if you're a grown man and you chirp your mouth at somebody, forget about if you're a coach. But if you call somebody out, like if you say, let's go, don't be surprised when somebody says, all right, it's go time. I'm coming at you. So if you say that, be prepared. And the pandemic, obviously, that's cooler heads have to prevail. And coaches are, not that different than teachers in those circumstances. They've got to be a tick above the fray. They've got to be enforcers of, if you will, of the law and the spirit of the law. In this instance, pertaining to the pandemic, highly irresponsible. They're both going to get whacked pretty hard, and they deserve it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.